Thank you so much, Ms. Shore and Mr. Segal, for having me. Thank you so much, Focus for Health. I'm so honored to be here today, and I'm excited to be speaking with you all. Before I begin, I want to let y'all know that I will be talking about something that I personally like to call radical self-preservation. But before I get into that, I want to commend all of you for the transformational work you've been doing simply by being here these past couple of days. We have all come to understand that tomorrow is never promised, and if the past 2 years have taught us anything, it's that in order to come out of the other side of hardship victorious, we have to take the initiative, and you all have been taking that initiative, so please give yourselves a hand. Throughout this retreat, you've been connecting, networking, expanding, challenging, and most importantly, choosing yourselves first. And today I want to stress just how important that is, not just to being the best versions of ourselves, but to being effective change makers as well. One of my all-time revolutionary idols, Audre Lorde, once explained that caring for oneself is not self-indulgence, but rather self-preservation, and is therefore an act of political warfare. I'm 18 years old now. I'm 18 years old now, and I've been a socio-political change maker since I was 12. But I began my journey as a woman of service and started my very first initiative when I was just 5 years old. Since then, I've raised tens of thousands of dollars towards dozens of amazing causes, helped provide disabled youth with essential resources, advocated for the eradication of period poverty in the US and overseas. I've also organized countless protests, rallies, cultural celebrations, and social media campaigns advocating for climate change awareness, celebrating Black liberation, demanding justice for the victims of gun violence, and advocating for those who have fallen victim to police brutality. Needless to say, I'm no stranger to the weight that comes with this work. Nor am I a stranger to the bravery, patience, pain tolerance, sleep deprivation, support, and self-preservational knowledge it takes in order to be successful at it. People often ask me, how do you manage it all? Being a young woman, living out your college dreams, and chasing your career goals, all whilst trying to save the world. What's your secret? Well, the truth is, I'm a highly functioning workaholic, which means that sometimes acting on my creative impulses becomes more important than, like eating or maintaining a regulated sleep schedule. And acting on my career aspirations becomes more important than going out with my friends, or being a reckless teenager, or even just taking moments to breathe. Before the pandemic hit, I could get away with sacrificing these things because I had school as my buffer. I socialize with people all day, so coming home and sequestering myself into my creative bubble for hours on end with no outside interaction was my way of maintaining a healthy work-play balance. At least, that's what I convinced myself. Plus, I figured, look, I worked this hard for this long to make sure that come my senior year, I'm skating. My senior year was gonna be my chance to finally let loose and to relax. Stop sacrificing so much at the cost of my ambitions. But as we all know, that didn't go as planned either. On May 14th of 2020, just 2 months after quarantine initially began, I turned 17 and was elected president of the first ever all-POC, all-female student council cabinet in my high school's history. And look, that was a win though, because after feeling isolated for so long and so unsure of the future, I was happy and felt hopeful that maybe, just maybe, I'd still have that senior year I'd imagined. I'd still be winning. Then 11 days, 9 minutes, and 29 seconds later, the world and my life changed forever. That was May 25th, the day that George Floyd joined the ancestors. Before that, I'd never felt so defeated. Like many of the young Black members of my generation, I'd become proficient in compartmentalizing my traumas amidst my triumphs. I usually excelled at transposing my emotions into action rather than grief, but this time, something struck a chord deep in my psyche. That something, that video of George Floyd, left such a weight in my chest, a weight unlike anything I'd ever experienced before, and sent shockwaves through my entire community. Just over a week later, determined to uplift the members of my community and myself from beneath this traumatizing weight, I contributed to the largest civil rights protest in my hometown's history. And I delivered a speech titled 3,000 Voices, 6,000 Ears, that would later be viewed over 26,000 times via social media. What came after that speech was incredibly life-changing for me. But it was also jarring, emotionally draining, and difficult. Because here I was, winning a student council election one week, and being placed at the forefront of a new age civil rights movement the next. Here I was, being viewed by tens of thousands of people, all whom bore the question, what are you going to do next? I had always been accustomed to being the one that people came to for knowledge, for information, for help, but this was way different. I felt as though I was carrying the weight of my entire community on my shoulders. I felt such an obligation to all of those people who had come out to support my comrades and me the day of that protest. To all those black and brown faces in my school hallways, neighborhood, and township. I felt an obligation to Reempower every last person that had felt that same defeat I felt, and was determined to make sure that we as a people walked away from that moment, protecting our joy and our unity at all costs. So I took on every engagement that came my way. I did all of the interviews, the podcasts, the live streams, the social media posts. I chased every avenue I could in an effort to uplift my people. For months, I worked hard, and I challenged myself, and I achieved some of the biggest goals I'd ever set in my life. But as my platform grew and my vision for my future became a reality, I didn't even realize that I was pushing myself to the brink, and I became perpetually exhausted. I was not eating nearly as much as I should have been, and I found myself losing creative inspiration way faster than I was finding it. During that time, I experienced feelings of immense isolation and uncertainty. I began losing friends that didn't quite understand my plight or my ambitions. I faced such feelings of self-doubt and fear of failure, but I faced an even greater fear of falling deeper into this rabbit hole of self-deprivation. And it wasn't until then that I had to realize that I was just one 17-year-old girl. A 17-year-old girl still trying to figure life out, pursue college, and be a revolutionary all amid a global pandemic. Hello? I had to come to terms with the fact that I was overwhelming myself. And as terrible as that felt, I knew that in order to prevent losing myself in the chaotic nature of the world at that present moment, I had to take a step back. I had to figure out a way to pull myself out of that dark place and find a way to nurture my body, mind, and spirit back to health so that I could be that social justice warrior, that commentator, creative, unifier, and leader that my community so deserved. So how did I do that? First, I realized that a part of my activism had to become self-advocacy and understand what that meant for me. You know how every time you get on an airplane and the stewardess goes up and down the aisles telling y'all what to do in case of an emergency, you know one of the most important things they tell you to do is? When the oxygen masks fall from my head, please put the mask over your own mouth and nose before helping others. In other words, in order to help anyone in any way in this world, you have to take care of yourself first. So protect your joy and maintain your peace. I also had to realize that I couldn't pick up every basket at once and could not save the world all on my own. As you can imagine, the workaholic side of myself made this realization stage extremely difficult. But learning to choose my battles wisely and not overwhelm myself helped me to learn to recalibrate, to work towards what I can do well, maximize it, and commit to it. For me, this meant slowing down on speaking engagements and press assignments for a while to focus on the growth of my own organization. It meant making sure that I never organized more than one major event each month until I regulated my sleep schedule. It meant taking breaks from social media, focusing on my college applications, making sure I ate 3 meals a day, and allowing myself some time to just be, to do artistic things that replenish me and have creative sessions with my amazingly talented family, to do things like write poetry and do yoga, project galaxies onto my bedroom ceiling, sing, pray, meditate, and breathe. The more I dedicated time to choosing myself, the more I began to understand what my passions and ambitions truly were. And in the midst of the most volatile time in my life, the path I desired for myself became clearer than it had ever been before. When it came to running my organization, I realized I couldn't do that alone either. I had to learn that a part of that self-advocacy was to ask for help. The one major downfall of the can-do person is the inability to ask for help. And let me tell you something. I am a member of a very unique and special club. I'm the CEO and executive director of I Don't Ask for Help, and I know I have some honorary members in the room. So by a show of hands, can I get, who are my can't ask for help people? Okay? Right, because see, we don't ask people for help because we're the ones that people always come to for help. But I realized how self-destructive that mindset could become, and how many meaningful connections I would deprive myself of if I never asked for help. Being that I was preparing to go off to college, I knew that in order to keep the revolutionary momentum I had created during the summer of 2020 alive, I was gonna need some serious help. And it was when I got that help that I realized I had the most beautiful community of like-minded young people, activists, journalists, artists, poets, family members, and friends from all over the world that were more than willing to lend their hands and their support to the growth of my organization. One of the most recent steps I took in my journey to self-care was choosing where I wanted to spend my next 4 years. While the unforeseeable future of COVID-19 gave ample reason for my feelings of uncertainty, so did my college decision. After making it through the application process and receiving scholarship offers from so many incredible institutions and honors programs, I couldn't help but wonder where I was truly meant to be. Like most high school seniors, at one point, I wanted to get away from it all and travel far away for college, but it didn't take long for me to mature in my thinking and consider what was truly best for me. I knew that I wasn't willing to sacrifice my activism, urban connectivity, or entrepreneurial aspirations to pursue higher education, and it became crystal clear to me that if I went to a school where I was only taking classes about activism rather than having a consistent platform to continue creating that real world change, I would fall right back into that cycle of self-deprivation. So I had to ask myself, where would help me strive for all the things I would want to accomplish in life while still allowing me to honor those vows to prioritizing my self-care? The answer led me to Rutgers University, where I was given a full residential scholarship and the chance to attend one of the most innovative specialty honors programs in the nation, as well as the opportunity to connect with a network of amazing young people, students who all share a minor social justice focus and have aspirations to create real world change in their respective career industries, local communities, and the world as a whole. Now, I've told you all of this to stress a few very crucial things. One, the importance of understanding that when striving for any goal in this life, you must commit to not just the goal, but to yourself and your well-being. Two, always remember to take time out for yourself. It's never selfish to prioritize some me time, some rest, and most importantly, your happiness. In order to be your best, you must allow yourself to recalibrate and recharge. And lastly, we all experience multiple self-care journeys throughout each of our lifetimes. All of them will be different, and none of them will come without their rough patches. But I want you all to remember that each of these journeys are necessary. And in the words of Deborah Day, nourishing yourself in a way that helps you blossom in the direction you want to go is attainable. All it takes is for you to realize that you are worth that effort.